Welcome back to another episode of the Dynasty Dingers podcast. It is deadline night, I guess we'd say, Doc. We have about 3 hours until our 230-man STS leagues hit the trade deadline. A little bit deeper in the season, I think, for trade deadlines. I like it. A lot of activity. What are your thoughts so far as we reach deadline Tuesday?
I think it's perfect. I'm in too many leagues, but somehow the deadlines are not. The Yahoo leagues all happen at once. I actually missed a bunch of them. I was just so busy last week, and apparently every Yahoo league ended last week. The other leagues are all kind of spaced out nicely, and to have this, late one is kind of cool. Again, if you feel like you missed out on the other trade deadlines, and maybe that's what's happening because we have so much activity. We started these 30 teams scout the stat line leagues, one category, 1 points. And man, they've just been so wild. They've been so wild. And they're making crazy deals that I don't even know about. And of course, now this guy wants to send me a second now. Of course he does. Of course he does. But I don't know if I'm going to do it. Josh Bell, we found out is actually that Josh Bell is actually kind of valuable in points leagues. He's still around. He's been around for like 10. Unironically, has been in the league since 2016, but he's still just 32 years old. He's got a couple more years left, probably. Anyway, I don't know what we're going to talk about this episode. I actually completely, as usual, ignored the outline. We should talk about Joseph Sullivan at some point because I went semi-viral with that one right after my viral Connor Griffin tweet. That was fun. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good, dude. Brewers it's a little premature. They're up 12-0 as my last check here, but 14-0. Going to be 7.5 games up on the Cubs in the middle of August, dude. Feels great. I got to slander PCA tonight in the Discord of one of our 30-mans as he was.
Tell me about PCA.
Well, let's see here. Probably will be playing in Korea in about a week and a half. Never to be back in the big leagues. No, I'm kidding. We were having a discussion about him, and I just said to you, he reminds
Durbin hit a home run, dude. You freaking jerk. You're ripping on him for going 0 for 4. They put him in there against Skeens. He says, Skeens is out of the game. Okay, now I will hit the ball.
1 for 5 with a home run. Hey, it's an impact,
It's great.
Clutch home run.
Dude, no, any dirt bomb is like, we didn't expect that. Go on, sir. PCA, the guy who's a little bit, I got so many comments to make. But PCA or Durbin long term, who you got?
Well, come on. That's PCA.
It's a joke.
You can't feel any. Yeah, you can't feel it. Listen, I don't like PCA because I'm a home Brewer fan, but I still appreciate PCA for what he is. The trade that was just made in our league, pitching going back to a contender who's in 4th overall out of 30 teams. The Cole Reagans addition to this deal, so it was PCA Cole Reagans for essentially Woodruff. Help me out with the other names in this. Cease, a couple prospects, a reliever. Probably sold a little bit light there. Defended himself with saying that he had offered him up on the trade block, which you made a really good point. You offer him up on a Fantrax trade block. Did you really do your effort of going around and telling everybody that you were going to trade PCA, as the night winds down? But I think the best we've seen from PCA was the first half. I think he's probably a 260, 270, 315 OBP, 40 stolen base guy for the next 3-4 years, which is really valuable in categories, but chases a lot, Doc. And I just don't like that. I really don't like a guy that can have extended issues at the plate because he's chasing. And I think that's what we're seeing in the second half. It's just a representation of the league knows how to pitch him now. They're attacking him in his weak spots. And, I don't expect things to turn around for him.
Yeah, no, it's funny. So basically, he hasn't slumped this year, more or less, right? And so I kept saying to people, I'm like, okay, this is great. He's clearly a guy. Like, this is a minimum. Like, you're guaranteed a 2020 season with this guy, barring injury. Can't say that for a lot of players. Now, the ratios you're going to get with that. Again, his batting average might actually be okay. He seems to pull it off somehow, even though I got that garbage chase rate. He strikes out a ton. But his OBP, I'm like, dude, it's like it was barely above 300 while he was playing like the best player in baseball. Like that, I'm like, this seems to be his peak. Like this, 80 pace, whatever he was doing. And people's response to me was more or less, well, he hasn't slumped yet. he's gonna. Like, it's not like it's not an if. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's gonna go 80-80, maybe, but more likely he's not gonna. And what do you know? Like, now he's just slumping a little bit for a little bit of time here. And yes, he's still gonna crack 30-30, still a threat for 40-40, which is insane. He shouldn't. I don't think he's hitting 40 home runs, but you just never know.
I don't think so either.
You never know. He's so crazy, right?
Okay,
but
so
290. Listen, what I'm getting to is 296 OBP. Just a little bit of a slump, and we're already at like a pretty abysmal rate. And obviously, if he didn't play defense, what a friggin' weird profile would this be, right? Because teams are like, he's pretty good, but he would not be getting as much playing time, right? And so like it would be a completely different fantasy profile. He does play good defense, though, amazing defense. So he's going to be in there, and he's pretty young still. He's really young. So this is still someone who can grow, but he's going to have to be humble and sit there and look at 30, 40, whatever he ends up with, 30 home runs, 40 stolen bases, and he's going to have to look at his line at the end of the season and be like, I need to be better, because. Yes. It's not all about the flashy fantasy stats. He probably plays fantasies. He's young, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's not. Hey, listen, I'm not all about Moneyball, but it is about how much you can get on base. I'm an OBP supremacist. I think it's really important. You need to be doing at least 310, and when you get under that, like your role typically becomes in jeopardy in a major league lineup.
Well, and that kind of rolls into the next question, which, again, put my fandom aside here. This is more of a generalized question. When you have a player like PCA in the middle of his first real slump after a breakout, you had underlying signs of severe regression potentially coming that didn't come until now, right? And had a lot in the industry saying, well, metrically, we don't know how to explain this, right? Well, here it is. It's happening. So my question is, like, in fantasy, how much weight do you also have with a player that's slumping on a team in a drastic slump and decline? Like, does the team also losing and like all momentum being sucked out of them matter to you when you're thinking about, am I going to start a guy on a weekly basis? Is he going to break out of the slump? Because I don't think it's any surprise that PCA is slumping and the Cubs are slumping. I think they go hand in hand. PCA is the engine that drives the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
So how does he break out of this? And how does the team rally from this? Like, I think it's an indicator from a fantasy perspective too, that it's like, you just can't start the guy until the team turns it around.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been horrendous. I didn't realize the Mets were 1-9 in the last 10 games. Did you know that the Nets 1-1 and lost 9 in their last 10? I'm sure New Yorkers are.
Yeah, it wasn't great. They ran into the Brewers. That was a tough series for them.
Yeah, well, Cubs are 5-5 in their last 10, which is still not great, but it has left an opening, and somehow, some way, the St. Louis Cardinals are finding ways to win games. They're 3 spots out of a wild card. The Cincinnati Reds are even closer, 2 spots out of a wild card. It could get interesting here. The Padres are on the upswing. I don't think anyone's doubting their role in the playoff picture, but again, like, we have a young player, a team who more or less is relying, has put their, whether it's they decided he was their heart and soul, or whether he came in and became their heart and soul. PCA is the Chicago Cubs offense right now. If he starts going out here and dropping us like 150 if he starts looking like Victor Scott out there, gosh, my boy, we hate to do it. We had to do it, but he's been rough. If he starts becoming Victor Scott slump style, which that's the thing, like Victor Scott when he slumps is going to look rough. PCA, funny enough, like it's going to be kind of equivalent ratios. Doesn't take a ton of walks. He's going to strike out a ton. And so actually strikes out more, but that's besides the point. Victor Scott's supremacy. The thing is, if that's what's going to happen, how is that going to affect a young player? He just thought he was the best player in baseball. Everyone in Chicago told him he was. He's pumping his fist. He's flipping his bat. He's the number one for months on end. Like, it was pretty sustained. It was really cool. Like, it was impressive. Sometimes he's got that punchable face, and I'm sure he could knock me out. But I got a gun. We'll make it happen. We'll see what happens. But
he has a 38% K rate in August. He's
it's
batting
bad.
.091 with a .118 on base percentage.
It's really
It's bad.
disgustingly bad. And so what I'm trying to get to here, folks, I'll cut to the chase, is that it's just a question of how much are we going to have to observe PCA humble himself and like sit here and be like, what do I need to work on? Because apparently I'm not the best player in baseball right now. And as a 23-year-old, that's not as easy as someone who's been around the block. You know what I'm saying? Like a 28 to 32-year-old in their prime, a superstar who's supposed to be the heart and soul. A kid isn't supposed to be the heart and soul of a team. If it works out that way, it's like really cool. But when it's this blend, right, it's a really weird situation. He's so explosive. He's so dynamic. I have to imagine his ego is going through things. He's got a lot to learn to develop as a player. My question here is like, is this going to be a prolonged issue for the Chicago Cubs? Could they go into free fall?
Yes, they are. Like, I know they're 5-5. The Brewers have won 11 straight. They're 7.5 games up in the NL Central. Like, the Cubs aren't, and again, not biased.
Well, no, we're not. No, we're not talking about division. We're talking about like sneaky.
You're saying will they
NL Central guys could sneak in there? The Reds are weird.
No, that was a thought I had today when I saw that the Reds beat the Phillies. I was like, oh my gosh, they're 7 games back in the loss column to the Cubs. But the Cubs are in Toronto. 3 games. I would not be shocked if the Cubs get swept by the Blue Jays. If the Cubs get swept by the Blue Jays, I think there's an absolute chance the Reds or the Cardinals, I think more or less the Reds, can take this wild card spot from the Cubs. Then it's really like, do they make the 3rd spot? Like, it's a very interesting situation because I don't remember seeing such a young player be the heart and soul of a good team. The Cubs were a good team, and they're just, as he's struggled, they're struggling, right? And Kyle Tucker has to step up and be the $500 million guy right now, and he's not doing that either. So it's really interesting. I guess I'm benching PCA. If I have PCA, I'm trading PCA. Yeah. I still think we're at an all-time high for PCA value. I don't love the package that the guy got today in our 30-man. That I would have asked for more, but I'm encouraging everyone to trade him. I think he's going to have a really good career. I jokingly said to you, I think he makes the Hall of pretty good or really good. But I think everything you said was right. He's 23, right? He's got a 3, 4, 5-year window where that speed's still going to play. He's going to learn some plate discipline. He's going to become a better, more consistent hitter. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but that will happen. But I think right now people value him as a top 5 dynasty asset, and you got to trade that when a guy isn't a top 5 dynasty asset.
Agreed. I did not like the trade that we saw today.
Let's talk a little bit about Nick Kurtz. I'm doing a little breakdown because I'm joining Eric on Thursday's RotoWire to talk about rookies and maybe guys that come up and impact down the stretch. So I'm breaking down players, and first and foremost, Drake Baldwin's profile is incredible. Very similar to his 2024 minor league stats, which are very interesting to see a guy almost mimic what he did at AAA at the big leagues. Kudos to the Braves there for their playing time and their splits. But I was breaking down Nick Kurtz secondly. And Doc, I didn't realize his K percentage at the major league level is 30%. That was very surprising to me with the numbers that we've seen from Kurtz and the success. Does that 30% K percentage scare you off from maybe Kurtz being the number 1 dynasty first baseman? Or do you think, same as I said with PCA, he's going to develop, he'll make better swing decisions going into next season, and that K percentage will come down more to a realistic 22 to 25%?
It's pretty crazy looking at his Savant page. Like he's whiffing, he's K'ing, he's not squaring up the ball. The not squaring up the ball is interesting. It's like, what happens when he does? But it's working. You know, he is taking it doesn't really matter. I'm not concerned. This is a profile where he hits the ball so hard. He takes a lot of walks. He doesn't chase. That I'm not concerned. And obviously, you know, the stats are showing it. The expected stats show it. The expected stats indicate a little dip, a little down. Like he's got an expected BA of 262 versus the 304 we're seeing right now. But no, I don't think this affects his stance as the number one first baseman in Dynasty. I'm just trying to think right now, like who's coming up, who's next. I think Harper's not done yet. I think Harper still has like another crazy like MVP season in him before he's done. I don't know if it's I don't
to
think
me it's him and Vladdy probably right now at the top.
Vladdy's up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, Vladdy's showing
Andrew
that
Vaughn.
40 home runs is probably just not who he is. That was the weird year.
Kind of hoping
what
you would.
Andrew Vaughn, yeah. Vladdy, like the Blue Jays fans love to hate on Vladdy. I'm like, oh man, it's so crappy compared to what he really is. I'm like, no, what he really is this guy, and it's fine. But he's not this 40 plus home run bat. It's just not what he's shown us he is like at this point. Like he's going to be really, really good, but that's not what you're seeing. Nick Kurtz is probably going to eclipse the 40 home run threshold. I think Bryce Eldridge is not such a dark horse, but it wouldn't be completely shocking if a guy like him or Jack Kaggs came along and became 40 home run. Like again, 40 home run. Like that's not
you gotta think Keg, right? Keggs is an outfielder now. So and
that's okay. Interesting. Yes,
right?
And he's not going anywhere.
So I think you're right. I think it's
late. It's late. Mm-hmm. But go on though.
Eldridge is probably like in the equation with Vladdy and Kurtz. It's not yet, but like we can project him.
It feels weird putting him there, but like if he came in and hit 5 home runs in a week, you could just imagine how fast his hype would explode.
Yeah, I mean, like again, when we look at Dynasty, we ran through this earlier in the season, right? And like, I didn't get to mention it when we were talking about PCA, but he had an extended run on what I call the Tyler Soderstrom train, right? Like we talk about it week in and week out at this time almost, where it's like, oh, Soderstrom, those big home runs, everyone thought he'd hit 50, and it's like, well, he slowed down, of course. PCA didn't, but in that same time frame, we talked about who would you rather have in Dynasty, Manzardo, Tyler Soderstrom, Torkelson, Kurtz, and it's like, well, here we are.
Coming back.
He is. Wow, what a stretch for Manzardo, huh? I hope he keeps it up. But Kurtz came through the fire, right? And he's the guy with Vladdy. But I really do hope we see Eldridge this season. I would love to see them bring him up, even if it's for a couple of weeks. Just give him a taste, and let him play it out in spring training next year. Maybe he ends up back at AAA next year to start the year. But I think it would be really good for Posey to bring up Eldridge and really just get his feet wet.
Oh, 100%, man. But yeah, it's I don't think anyone expects Eldridge to come in here and walk like Kurtz does, which is the thing, right? So he's probably going to strike out just as much as Kurtz. I think he actually, it almost doesn't seem possible. Yeah, Kurtz has almost the best bat speed in the league. He hits the ball so hard.
Incredible. His savant is incredible.
Yeah, I think Eldridge is actually stronger. Like, I think, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm the strongest guy in the league. Unless you are the strongest, it's like to a judge level, right? Which technically there's something in there that maybe that could be the case.
Doc, but I think Kurtz is on that level, dude. Like,
well, yeah, no, this is the thing. That's what I'm getting to is like, it doesn't matter though. Like unless you are like the number one, like you're hitting 60 home runs and then Kurtz is hitting 40. Like that's when it matters. But like saying. We're getting crazy here. We're getting into crazy territory. Nick Kurtz is based on what he did in the minors, what we knew about him already, and what he's doing now in the major leagues. He's your dynasty number one first baseman. I mean, he's in the conversation for number one dynasty player. It's tough because he's got no speed, but like, what happens if he shows off? This profile could be a 50 home run bat. Those could be his peak seasons. You could have.
What you're saying though isn't crazy because if you were to really think about it, right, you're on the clock, first pick of a brand new startup. You're looking at Ohtani or Judge. Is that fair? Like, let's take Kurtz out of the equation for just a minute. Those are the two that you're still like, it's Ohtani or Judge. Do you think that's fair?
For what purpose?
You're the first pick in a startup dynasty draft, right? You're looking at Ohtani or Judge. Is that fair?
No, it's not fair. Who else
would you throw in there?
I'd throw in Bobby Witt in there. He was just in there this year for a
Okay,
reason.
that's fair. That's fair. Bobby Witt.
I mean, the thing is,
But I'm trying to gather names because Judge
it's a
doesn't
short
have the
list.
speed, right? So
Yeah,
like,
Judge, Ohtani, Kurtz, Bobby Witt Jr. I'm not doing an order right now. Bobby Witt Jr.
sure.
If Acuna didn't get hurt, he would have been back in that mix. But now
Mhm.
he's got it. Now he's the hurt guy, and you'll get a
Yeah.
discount on him. And then lastly, I mean, are we going to consider Corbin Carroll? I don't know. I think he's
No,
the
I
next
wouldn't.
tier.
Yeah,
I think he's the next tier, and I think that's the list.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some that are listening right now and thinking they're probably laughing about Nick Kurtz in this conversation, but I'm in agreement with you. Like if I'm looking at building and constructing a team, I think the biggest drawback to this, and we've done enough startup drafts to know this, if you turn away from Ohtani or Judge, you're turning away from a really big opportunity to cash in chips, right? As much as we love Kurtz, Ohtani and Judge right now return usually more value if you want to leave the draft and go out and get a haul of prospects and major league players. But we haven't seen it because we haven't seen Nick Kurtz in a startup draft yet where he's a major league player. I think it's a very interesting conversation. And his savant is it's incredible. Like, PCA had a lot of concern, and like I'm concerned by his 4th percentile whiff and 4th percentile K percentage, but we have to project that to get better. His walk percentage is just what is like miles apart between what PCA's profile was. I mean, Kurtz is coming here with a 386 on base percentage.
It should be noted that if you're in a batting average only league, and I've said this before, PCA is a completely different beast because like it's realistic that he could end seasons between 250 and 270 with like these ridiculous stats.
30, 40, 30, 50.
And that doesn't,
40,
then it's like, that doesn't matter. It's like, oh, he's like got a good batting average or a fine batting average versus like the despicable, ugly OBP that hangs over you.
So I'm going to touch on our outline. So for those listening, we were supposed to have Eric Cross on tonight. Unfortunately, Cross is not with us. So we're going to try to get him sooner than later before the season ends. Doc will be on that. But one of the things I wanted to talk on with Eric is right in the same vein as Nick Kurtz conversation, which is how are we evaluating FYPD moving forward? And I want to preface this with JJ Wetherholt and Nick Kurtz coming into their draft last year had lost a little bit of steam because of production in their junior years. Coming into the 2024 collegiate season, they were the runaway 1-2, right? And so should we be surprised that because of certain variables, which we've talked about with Connor Griffin a lot, right? Maybe variables that we either don't know about, can't see, or are not reported on, had bad junior years. And not bad junior years, but, disappointing junior years. Wetherholt crushing it for the Cardinals. I mean, absolutely looking like, I would argue, the number one prospect that's, almost ready to debut. And then Kurtz being this freak of nature, number one first base dynasty asset. Are you evaluating your FYPD rankings coming into this season differently? Are you going to evaluate how you rank guys moving forward, maybe because of one down season?
It feels weird. I feel like I'm tempted to, I've been saying this all year. I said this to Tim Kanak on the podcast before this one. But I feel like I need to do a prospect ranks. I feel like the people want it. I'm out here saying Joseph Sullivan's a top 20 prospect because it's almost easier to say things like that now. And again, I looked at the names and I thought about it. I'm like, no, I think he at the very least sneaks in the back. He might be number 20, but the ranks are thin. And like Robbie Snelling, have you followed Robbie Snelling's resurgence?
He's crushing it.
What's it like? Is he in the conversation of best pitching prospect right now? Yes. Now because Sikора's out, he's hurt. Painter's struggling, Chandler's struggling. Thomas White's it's like White or Snelling, unless you want to go with the long. I still think Painter's going to be great. Let's just say that Burns isn't really a prospect anymore. He's a major leaguer. But you're making that face. So who's your number one pitching prospect?
Well, I still have Painter and Chandler 1-2 just out of respect.
That's
literally what we just said, which is right.
That was an option.
I said something crazy this week, which was I think Cal Stevens is my number 3.
You
Now,
don't even know his name, bro. It's Cal Stevens.
Stevens. I'm going to call him Stevens for his whole career. Now, I was a little aggressive with that. Thomas White is easily my number 3. He just, I mean, dude, he's 100
What does he have to
strikeouts in
do?
65 innings. Like,
What does he have to do? I feel like nobody wants to crown him, but like he's
He-
just like begging to be
I
crowned.
think if we look at like this season production, Thomas White is number 1. Right after Sikora goes down with the Tommy John, like that sucks. And like I think still Thomas White is over Sikora in 2025.
I don't know if he was always listed at this. Do you know that Thomas White's up to 240 pounds? I don't think
saw that.
I don't think
pretty
I think
surprising.
that's new.
Yeah, I mean
6'5", 240.
I'm gonna have to watch us start this year, but no. So for me, like White, Cal, like that's the thing. Like I think honestly, I think after White is where it gets really gray. Because White has emerged now, and like Snelling has the velocity concerns, so he's going to be more of a crafty kid, whereas White is the full package. God, White's so good. But yeah, I get what you're saying with Sullivan. Like we're either very young, when we've talked about this with the Luis Peñas and the Jesus Mates, right, and all the other DSL single A, high A kids. We have this missing gap at double A where it's like, yeah, Thomas White is filling that, but because everyone sees the prospect ranks is so light, he's getting overshadowed.
Yeah, I just the reason, I don't know if I fully explained it, but the reason I think you can put a Joseph Sullivan there if you believe in him, and why I don't feel as much pressure. It's like there was more brand names, it felt like. And I didn't really buy into that narrative over the offseason because I felt there was still a lot there. But this season, with the graduations that we are now facing, Pasaya will hopefully be up soon, but he'll graduate.
I don't think he graduates this year. I really don't. There's no benefit for the Orioles to waste.
Yeah, they've waited too long at this point.
Yeah.
I guess like hold out for the big rookie campaign, but it's asinine. Yeah, it's asinine. Anyway, but point is, like, you know, we're having a lot of guys who are graduating. The names are thinning out. Like, you don't necessarily, first of all, you shouldn't really let brand names stop you from telling the truth anyway, but it can feel a certain way. Like I knew that people were going to get mad when I put Roki Sasaki as like my number 5 starting, my pitching prospect behind Travis Sikora to start the year. That was the number one thing people got mad at me about. How can you put a kid, like a little teenager? Yeah, it's Travis Sikora. He's really little. A little teenager.
Listen to this. They've got, I'm looking at Pipeline. I don't know if you noticed, Pipeline dropped their new top 100. I think either today or yesterday.
Take a look.
I'll send it to you if you need it. As I'm looking at, they've got Ethan Holiday and Eli Willits in the top 20. I wanted to just see where you're like where the top 20 would be and like how you could possibly put Joseph Sullivan in there, because like I'm not going to get behind that, but it's your list, so who am I? But if you're putting Holiday and Willits in there, like Hope and Carson Bench, Hope's at 19, Carson Bench is at 20. I can see that. Thomas White comes in at 21. Kate Anderson comes in at 22. So like I would bump those guys up. I would take Thomas White over what they have Travis Bazana at 15. I'll give me Thomas White all day on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Top 15 is hard to crack,
isn't it
though.
Crazy to see Kevin McGonigal at number 2 overall. Isn't this weird?
I'm not in. I mean, I'm not like I would love to own him.
I think he hit 2 home runs today.
He did. Yeah, he did. I mean, he's hitting 335 on the year, hitting 289 in 22 games at Double A. So playing well. I mean, I can't get him over the DeVries, and I will take him over Made, no problem. But over DeVries, really over JJ Wetherholt. To me, there's no conversation. JJ Wetherholt is going to be a star. I don't know that McGonigal is going to be a star.
I think he'll be really, really, really good in Major League Baseball. It's going to be a question. Like, he could realistically end up being a Brendan Donovan.
Yes, I think there's more Donovan risk. Would you agree with that, though? There's almost no risk that JJ Wetherholt.
There's Donnie risk. Yeah, I mean, like, he could be like a sexy Donnie. He could be 15-15 instead of like 12-12. You know, but really, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree.
But I actually don't know if the stolen bases are going to translate. So which means, like, what if there's almost no stolen bases, under 10 single digit stolen bases?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're really banking. The hit tool is going to be there. He's going to have amazing
Yeah.
ratios. It's going to be a lot of fun. Probably play good defense at second or wherever. And it's just going to be a question. Like, does he hit 15 home runs? Is he going to be maybe Maikel Garcia got knocked, for a while. It's like, well, with Maikel Garcia, you could at least sit on this stolen bases situation, right? And now you're not going to be able to bank on a certain category. All you have is the ratios, and that could be fine. But is it going to be is that the number 2 prospect in baseball? Again, MLB doesn't grade for fantasy purposes, so I'm not going to hold their pipeline ranks against them. Maybe he is, like, especially because you have to, if you're looking at the ranks for the best, for the prospect ranks for baseball player versus fantasy baseball player. I actually do bank this into fantasy to some extent. I think you should reward a prospect for having a high chance of working out as a major league ball player, because that's a huge factor,
Yeah, I agree with you.
And Kevin McGonigal, literally out of everyone on this list, other than Connor Griffin, because Connor Griffin plays good defense too. I mean, here's the list of the guys who are going to be stars. I would guarantee it, or really good ball players, and I guarantee it. I'll say that, not for fantasy, just from baseball. Griffin, McGonigal, Wetherholt, probably Basayo, Max Clark, definitely. Emerson. I lean on hit tools. I won't even put Bryce Eldridge in that conversation. Or Walker Jenkins in that conversation.
I'll put Jenkins in, barring injury, because that's just his.
That's the thing. Right? These other guys don't really have those factors, and these other guys are just so young. And there's just other factors at play. And I can get into all that. But I'm not saying here, and I'm not saying don't put them up there. I think LDB is probably going to be stud. Walcott's probably going to be stud. Go on. What are you saying?
Jenkins has a 3.45 in 43 AA games, 315, 421. 500. I mean, the kid is a walking, not as sexy of a shiny toy as Mike Trout, because he just doesn't steal the same kind of bags and doesn't have the same prodigious power. But if Jenkins isn't an injury prone player and just had some bad luck over the last 3 years, we're talking about a better version of I'm not even gonna put a comp on him. This is what you want out of a prospect. 3.45 AA, makes incredible swing decisions. Almost walking more than he's striking out. He's 7 more Ks than walks. But Jenkins, I think he's just forgotten about. And I would be targeting him right now if there's still trade windows open or in the offseason. I think the Jenkins prospect shine is waning, and I think we have a really good player here. Problem is he's a twin, and they're always hurt.
It's so weird.
I think you're a little aggressive on Jacob Sullivan. Is it Jacob or Joseph? Joseph Sullivan.
Is Joseph get his name right? Why do you think I'm being aggressive with him?
Because there's a lot of players on this list that I would rather have over somebody that may be useful in a 20-man.
Okay, well, this isn't the boring. This is not even a Durbin where there's a certain outcome you need. This is Joseph Sullivan, who is his grandfather was
I know.
He was cracking elite EVs and elite home runs at the combine. You know about that. And that was when he was supposed to just be a little quick guy, just a little role player. And then so he did everything right other than hit bombs, and they started hitting bombs. Well, now we see in his first professional season, 17 home runs, 38 stolen bases, an 18% walk rate. He's not even playing that great right now. As in the last couple of weeks, he's still got a 401 OBP on the year. 227 batting average is what people are holding against him. But this is not coming with a terrible contact rate. There's so many players out there who are struggling, or we're supposed to I mean, look at Spencer Jones, what he went through with these horrific contact rates. I think Lazaro Montes has a 56% contact rate right now at AA.
Yeah, Lazaro Montes is a really good example. Like, I think he's the name that you should use to like compare Sullivan, because everyone loves Montez. He is not having a good season. K rate is through the roof.
Yes.
Defense is a problem. He's at 29 for Pipeline. So like, I can get with you there.
Yeah.
But
guess what this guy's playing? This guy plays center field, bro. So he's an athlete. He's an Astros outfielder.
Because there's enough names like Trey Savage. I think he's
left-handed
right there with Thomas White. Like, would you put Sullivan over Savage in your ranks right now?
Here's the thing. Here's what I have to ask you. This is in 91 games. This is his first season of pro ball. Some folks in my, I almost called them a name, but some folks in my replies, here's the downside. When you get a post that goes kind of viral, if it gets big enough, people start getting more mean because people come outside your bubble, start creeping in. But and they're like, this guy's an idiot. And I'm like, you're not supposed to know that. Join the cult where nobody insults me. Or they do it nicely, like Matt. And so, 23 years old, he's 23 years old, AA, bro. And like in this post specifically, I said, you can ignore the BA here because everything else, it's not what you use to evaluate a prospect when everything else checks out, including contact rates, which matter more anyway in terms of future predictability, especially given like the sample size of his career this is his first pro season. By the way, he hit 0 home runs last year in 20 games at low A. I haven't mentioned that before, but that's a pretty big deal that he's gone from 0 to 17. Like that's a big thing. And again, he was hitting a ton at the combine. So it's not like this is just like something that's a fluke, and he's got the genetics. It makes sense. So my thing here is like, okay, well, what is like, assuming he has more to grow into, maybe he's never going to be a contact maven, but like, let's say he can like find this trade-off here of maybe he's not a 400 OBP either. Maybe he gets to like in major leagues, he's 230 to 240 batting average, 340 to 360 OBP because he seems to have an amazing eye. And I mean, what if he steals you 30 plus bases? Then now it's not a Durbin situation either because we're looking at, okay, this could be a 20 plus home run guy if he figures it out. So 20-30 with an elite OBP, and he's in the Astros organization, and he's going to get playing time because he can play center field.
But
he can play any outfield.
But you're talking about best outcome for him.
I'm talking about like what he's showing us right now.
But he's showing us that at high A. He's not showing us that.
No, this is double A.
He's doing home runs in 16 games, 4 stolen bases, batting 203 with 360. That's fine. Like that's
his first time in the upper minors in his life.
But he's 23. Like,
okay,
I get that you want to take away. I understand that, but even at 22, you're too old for double A. Like you're too old. Like
I think 23 is like when you're considered actually at
my point is when you're going to argue to make him a top 20 prospect. Like it's okay if you want to say, hey, I think Joseph Sullivan's a top, 60, top 50 prospect. You want to be aggressive with him like that. But you're talking about putting him over potential all-stars, like multiple year potential all-stars. Braden Montgomery. I think Sal Stewart even has a couple.
Have you seen Braden Montgomery's numbers?
I mean, they're not fantastic.
He looks really bad.
But he's batting 268. That's what, 40 points higher than Sullivan.
Okay, so you're going to lean on batting average and ignore every single other aspect of the game in the minor league?
Batting 260 with a 330 at double A isn't a bad player.
He's not doing that at double A. You're not reading that right.
He is doing that at double A.
No, he's not.
At double A, he's batting 260 with a 327 to 380.
Who are you talking about?
Braden Montgomery for the White Sox.
Braden Montgomery at double A you're not reading that right. He's got 239 batting average.
I am reading that right. I'm literally looking at it right here.
Braden Montgomery at double A. Okay, read it off to me. What are you seeing?
13 games, 260.
So I'm seeing 12 games. I don't know what. I'm on Fangraphs.
I'm on Pipeline, which updates literally real time.
Okay.
So 260, 327, 380 with 1 home run, 4 walks, 18 strikeouts. So the strikeouts are the problem. My point is...
Okay, I'm on Fangraphs. He must have had an amazing game today because he's at 239
He must.
286
I listen. I'm on board with you with that because those numbers are not even close. We
Yeah.
should pull that up while we're talking. 'Cause
And
I
at least
am
like
interested.
our audience definitely got interested and we're about to kill each other. He's got a 36% K rate here. So
Good K rate. I get that, but my point is like, if I'm offered Montgomery for Sullivan in any league, I'm smashing accept. It's not even close. Now,
okay.
the list keeps going. You offer me Bryce Rayner for Sullivan, I'm taking it. Jamie Arnold, Nolan McLean, Noah Schultz.
You're entering a world here that makes sense. So here's the deal: is the deal with the Durbin, right? So I had Durbin as like a top 30 prospect, and out of the top 30 prospects that were on that list, people got mad. Probably no one even really gets mad when you do a Durbin. They might get more mad with Sullivan because Durbin is such an underdog that everyone's like, "That's crazy." But I didn't just do
Yeah, I
it for
agree.
no, like, and they're like, "Ah, it's fun," you know. Augustin Ramirez, some people thought was weird, and what do you know, right? Then Durbin,
Yeah,
although
but Augustin's maybe a better. I don't know.
but
The
here's the
hard
deal with the
sell you
reason that
have.
part of the what I'm saying is part of the reason I put Durbin that high is I thought he was going to be like a surefire major leaguer. I thought he'd have enough of his floor was worth ranking him that high, and that didn't mean that you should trade him. It didn't mean that like if he's ranked 30th or 29th, that you shouldn't trade him for the 30th necessarily. You know, what I'm trying to say is market value makes a difference. I'm not ranking guys on market value. That's the summary. I'm not ranking guys on market value. So you should be like, if I think that Augustin Ramirez is a top 10 prospect, but nobody else does, I'm not picking him first round. You know, I'm not like, I'm going to wait on him. I've did that in so many leagues. That's why I have him everywhere, but I still got other guys too. Because
But then what do your rankings actually mean?
they mean who the best players are, who's the best combination of whether it's upside and surefire major leaguer. What are the best values here? That doesn't mean the trade. It's not, and this is a philosophical question.
It is.
Is
And you're not
is
wrong
everyone
for your
else?
opinion. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I feel like sometimes if you ever feel pressure, I know I've felt pressure, like I'm supposed to have this player here because of that. But if I ask myself, who do I feel better about long term? Doesn't mean sometimes it can be again, it's not always who has the most upside. Some guys will probably tell you, my ranks are all about upside. Okay, that's your ranks. Mine aren't one thing. They're not all upside. They're not all who's the most likely to be a major leaguer. It's a fusion. And sometimes there's just, you combine those together and you have a gut feeling and you throw that in there too. But it's certainly not trade value because that's not going to make sense. If you want, I can tell you what the most valuable people are via trades and via the market because you can just look at Fantrax roster rates and that's the value, right? What you want to do is I want people to read my ranks, what I think, which is going to be Joseph Sullivan in there. They're going to be like, what the frig? Well, he's way off that in my leagues. They're not going to sit there, and I don't sit there and like draft him over Braden Montgomery, right? If I was in like the fourth or whatever fifth round of a prospect startup draft, and both of them are there, I'm probably taking Braden Montgomery so I can flip him for Joseph Sullivan +1, or +3.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. What I'm trying to articulate to you is I think this is the first time, and I'm going to say it to you. I think this is the first time you're just offbeat. I didn't think that with Augustin Ramirez. I respected that rank from you. I even respected the Durbin rank because there was a lot of real great logic in your placement. I just have a problem with it this time because as I go through Pipeline's top 100, I keep seeing like areas where I'm like, okay, I could see your ranking of Sullivan here, right? And I'll just list a couple names from example, like Christian Moore, Blake Mitchell, Aiden Miller. Like we have a lot of questions about these guys, but then the problem is you've got like Arjun Namala afterwards. You've got even further down with Luke Keishel at 64, right?
Well,
Tim
Keishel's
loves
not a
Keishel.
prospect. He's a friggin' stud major leaguer now to me.
Okay, but that's my point, right? Is like if I'm taking one for one,
let's say non-debuted, by the way.
okay, that matters a little bit, but I just think 20 is aggressive. So what I'm
Who
saying
do you
is
think is having a better AA season? Not named Connor. Like you can name people who you would think would be in the top 20, not Connor Griffin types. Who do you think
I
beats him
mean,
out? Because Brady Montgomery's having a worse AA season.
he's
Are
not.
you
Brandon
are you
Montgomery is not
grasping that?
having. He's. He's not having a worse AA season than Sullivan.
Huh?
Brandon Montgomery is hitting 40 points higher.
So so you think for fantasy purposes we should only be looking at batting average
No, but
because Brandon
40
Montgomery is
points.
going to offer no stolen bases. Have you seen how often he's getting thrown out? He's not a stolen base guy. So there's no. So you're going from potential 30 to 40, like 20 to 40, somewhere in that big gulf there.
You even
Big
said it yourself.
range.
You like the higher valued player is Montgomery. I value Montgomery higher.
Okay,
Like,
that's something you're allowed to do. But when you
for
take
sure.
away, like, do you think that Brandon Montgomery is going to crack 10 steals in a season?
No, but I think he's going to crack 30 home runs. I can guarantee Joseph Sullivan
Okay, so
never
you
cracked 30.
really believe this power is going to show more than it ever has in professional ball?
I mean, the EVs in college were insane. He was either first or second in the
bat.
nation. That's fine, but what is like you're putting Sullivan over a plethora of potential superstars. Like Ryan Sloan,
I'm
really good
confused.
example. Ryan Sloan
Wh-
is going to win a Cy Young. He's going to win probably multiple.
That's a crazier statement. I mean, I like Sloan, but like you're saying, that's a very crazy statement. I was like, I'm not sitting here saying
42. Like
that.
Sullivan is probably a fourth outfielder, realistically, right? Like
I just don't know where you're getting it from because you're looking here at power. You're saying that Brandon Montgomery's power is the reason he's going to be better on the season. And in his first pro season, he is having 12 home runs, and Sullivan has 17. So he has more power, and he's got way more stolen bases. He's got a better eye. He's taking way more walks, and he's striking out less. So I'm just confused on
did
so
Sullivan,
because of batting average.
Sullivan shatter his ankle sliding home not even a year ago? I guess it exactly was a year ago. Like there are like underlying pieces to this that matter. Like,
but you can see my logic.
Not with a top 20 ranking for Sullivan. No, I can't. There are a ton of players I take over him. I mean,
I think that you lose the Brady Montgomery battle, though. I think you'll lose it. There's only thing you have is that he was
so
better
let's
in
break
college.
down Sullivan, right? You said Houston. You like the fact that he's going to play, right? Equal, if not way greater, for Montgomery. Montgomery is the Chicago White Sox part of their foundational future. The ball could bounce off his head and go over the wall 15 times a week. He's still going to be playing because the White Sox have no choice. They traded Garrett Crochet for him. Like, he has to play. The power plays up, right? Because he's going to develop. He's taller physically from a scouting perspective. I like him more for that. Sure, the speed may not be there, but I don't think Sullivan at his core is a starter in Major League Baseball. I know that Montgomery has to be, much like Colson Montgomery's doing right now, right? Like, yes, this is not real from Colson Montgomery because the chase is outrageous and all of that, but like, he's playing because who else are they going to trot out there? The Astros are not necessarily in that same situation while they need outfield depth. And I think Sullivan could play a key role for them maybe next year if he keeps playing well and keeps his average up. But like, that's another key piece. Can the Astros afford a guy in their lineup that hits 220 at best from what we've seen?
So would you say that whatever Brady Montgomery's bad numbers are right now in AA, that's who he is in major leagues? Like, that's what we should just completely say that's who he is now.
No,
so
I think we have to project regression. So he's probably a 240, 300 in the major leagues, but that means Sullivan's a 190, 200, and that's not a major league.
No. That's not what that means because he's got a 400 OBP. So like, if you're regressing, you don't regress.
190. Listen, Doc, 190 doesn't play. It doesn't.
Okay,
like, I get that you can think that because his OBP, like,
he's not going to be up right now. I don't think. I think if you put him in the major leagues right now, that would be a terrible idea. He's developing different than Montgomery. Montgomery had a much better college career. Yeah, we could sit here and say that year, the final year for Montgomery was better. If we were coming out of the draft, I wouldn't say, gosh darn it, you know what? This Joseph Sullivan kid needs to go over Brady Montgomery. But that's not when we're cutting off the value. It's what we're seeing now. And you have to, I'm going to see here if you're going to act honestly. When we look at these profiles that we are seeing, and this is, I'm being provocative. If you don't just forget the players.
Okay.
You can look at their size. You can look at the org. But mostly look at their profiles of the numbers they are providing for you this year. And let's say they each have 2 to 3 years, let's say 2 years, to marinate before getting called up. Say 2 years to marinate, or let's just say they're called up and they develop, whatever. They develop for 2 years, but these profiles that they are showing only in pro ball, who, if they reach their upside, if both reach their upside, who has more fantasy upside?
That's not a fair question. Because you're glossing over all of the history. And like history matters.
So the answer would be Sullivan.
If we were to just strip everything away, I would say Sullivan, but I'd have incredible red flags because, again, in 16
you
games,
can say there's not a good track record. That's actually a good flag. There's not a good track record.
It's not, Doc. In 16 games, he's batting 203 with a 360 at AA as a 23-year-old.
16 games?
That matters. Like, you defended it and you said that doesn't matter. It matters. 23 years old.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, what are we doing with Brock Wilken? You know, I mean, you can say that he got smashed in the face, but it's like
he's out of Milwaukee. I think he's out of Milwaukee's top 15 prospects with Pipeline's drop. I'd have to go back and look, but
okay. So if you are equally not believing in Brock Wilken, that's okay. But I just don't see baseball as like NFL running backs. I'm fine with. It's not ideal, but if they're college guys and their first pro season, they happen to be 23, I don't necessarily expect you to jump into pro ball and get it right away. We've had this conversation before philosophically.
Let's bring up Isaac Collins, because that's a great I actually agree with you with that. I don't care if you're 23 or you're 28, right? Like, but my point is, again, I'm not arguing that Joseph Sullivan doesn't have value. That like I love Isaac Collins, and if Sullivan finds a way to become a guy like Isaac Collins, who finds a way to play 120 games and be a spark and be a really big piece in the lineup, and there's a chance. Like, I'm not saying that's not a chance. That's absolutely a chance. He's just not a top 20 prospect. There are so many other names. Carson Williams, who I like, has massive red flags, but would still take over Sullivan, right? Like, I'm scrolling in his 60s.
Does it mean anything to you? Like, you said something about like the EVs you want to know, or maybe that was Tim. I don't know, but you know that Braden's got big EVs. Does it mean anything to you that we actually do have that data on Sullivan? Because that was what I was talking about with the combine. Like, he was actually the third best. I don't know what the frick that. 3 top 10 exit velos. So he was crushing with the crushingest of every prospect in baseball at the combine. Using the top 10, he had 3 of the top 10 exit velos.
That's important.
That's crazy.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a huge part of what I'm saying here. That's why I picked him. And I was like, that's why I didn't really necessarily give up after the 0 home runs last year. I'm like, yeah, I know he's not huge, but the fact that he's crushing the ball like that and no one's expecting him to, well, let's see what happens. And now we have 17 home runs. It's like, this is smoke catching. Of course, yeah. I mean,
yeah, 17 home runs. Well, 15 home runs at high A as a 22-year-old. You know who else is at high A right now, Doc? 18-year-olds. Really? Pena and Made at high A. So
I mean, those are literally the best 18-year-olds in baseball. So that's unfair,
I mean, DeVries played there the entirety of the season. He's 18.
I mean, we have a 19-year-old in AA. So it's like Connor Griffin.
My point to you is not that you shouldn't like Sullivan. I just think you're overextending, looking for somebody to be flashy where you can put him in 20 so that people.
I just stunned. I don't know I don't understand how we can give a pass to guys like Montez and Braden Montgomery.
Well, I'm not saying give a pass to Montez. Montgomery's different. Montez is not playing well. Like, if you were to ask me who do I think actually plays 5 years at the major leagues right now, I think it's probably Sullivan over Montez. And I'm serious. Because Montez is showing some severe red flags, and Sullivan at least has like green lights across the board where it's like, hey, he could provide some value. Montez could turn into Willie Mopena.
This became definitely a huge segment. I'm sure people will be entertained by it, so I'm fine. But I mean, look at what the Astros. You talked about playing time. I'm not even really concerned about. I think that's just like really not a concern. Look how long they threw out. Chas McCormick out there. They'll throw these out. Like, they've actually not been having a great track record lately. And Jacob Melton.
But Chaz McCormick
this-
was on nobody's top 20 list. That's the
No,
entire
no.
conversation.
I'm not saying this. I'm saying like even when he was bad, they kept giving him chances out there. And then Jacob Melton, I think like I brought this up. I said Jacob Melton. I think Sullivan's going to be what people were hoping that Melton would be, because Melton never flashed any kind of walk rate like this, any kind of plate discipline like this, and that's a major problem. Like if you don't have that eye, if you don't have that plate discipline, it's hard to build up from there, right? There are ways that you can make trade-offs. Maybe you don't want to be 220, 400. Maybe you want to be.
Melton's
maybe you want to
be.
Mm-hmm.
Melton has in 2025 has a better OBP than Sullivan has at AA.
He's been having like I think 4 or 5 years of pro experience going through the minor league system. So
yeah, but he's only.
I don't care about age. I care about pro ball. I hope we're getting this across right now. I don't necessarily care how old you are. If you're coming from some school, I don't even know what school Joseph Sullivan went to. But if you're coming from a school to pro ball, it's not the same. So yes, college players I think are at a serious disadvantage in terms of development than prep guys, because prep guys could be in a system for 7 years and they come out and they're 25. It's like, okay, they had 7 years of pro ball. I mean, that's crazy, right? These college guys, their pressure is on to crush it. If you don't, you become one of these boring guys. He gets promoted between 25 and 28, and that is an outcome possibly. But if Sullivan's out here crushing outfield defense and he's fast, he's probably going to get a call, and he's hitting bombs. He'll probably get a call up next year. It's pretty likely, I'd say. So
listen, at the end of the day, as a 22-year-old in high A with a 26.7% strikeout rate, I'm out, Doc. He not only like I didn't see this. This was the only piece I didn't see in this entire conversation. That is unplayable and unsustainable. Like I don't care if he walks 40% of the time. 26.7% K rate as a 22-year-old in high A is not a major leaguer. He's not like.
Okay, so we will look at that's interesting that you say that, and I'm gonna hold it to you, and I'm going to make you feel bad over the years when Joseph Sullivan is at least a 2020 guy perpetually. Yeah.
You're just not like you want to make this a thing. It's not a thing.
Okay.
At least not yet.
Like, I mean, no. Here's the thing. I'm not saying put him in the major leagues today, but I feel like you're not being paid. I feel like that's an insane thing. So you're saying that in his first full season, where at high A, so you're going to lynch him for 26% K rate, ignoring the 19% walk rate and the 15 home runs and the 34 stolen bases in 75 games. The cartoon
always
like the video game numbers.
Stolen bases at the lower minors don't mean anything.
Not if they don't. If they stop or if they're inefficient as the numbers go up. That's one thing. It's 16 games at AA. He's got 4 already.
That's good.
And no caught stealing.
That's good. But
this is a good sign.
A rate at AA.
Okay. Yeah. I don't expect. I mean, this is a guy who he did not come in as like, here's your polished, for sure, surefire franchise cornerstone. Nobody's thinking that with Joseph Sullivan. I'm looking at who he is right now and what he's becoming rapidly. He's shifting so rapidly. We've gone from 0 home runs to 17 home runs. We've gone from 8 stolen bases.
Again, if you're putting him in 80 to 100 in your top 100, I get it. But you're talking about putting him over.
Because so he would not be the safe. I mean, his defense and his clear ability, his all around talent, all the different ways he can be good. Maybe he loses one, but he still has other tools. Because of that does provide a floor. But the upside here is tremendous. The floor and upside combination here is just through the roof. And he's got the background. Again, these are genetics. Again, we have EVs. So we have everything other than batting average, and apparently a 26% strikeout rate is unacceptable. Like there's no way to fix that. Meanwhile, Spencer Jones, everyone was just going to be like, 36%.
Listen, I haven't brought up Spencer Jones in this, okay? And can
we give the kid like 2 seasons to figure it out? Like that's like
yes, we can, but you are just putting him at 20 to be controversial. Like
that's not true.
Okay, so let's go through this list. Aiden Miller going to be the cornerstone third baseman for the Phillies if he's not.
You're gonna make me do my. So
better
I
BA,
looked through the names.
better OBP, more power.
So right
Strikeouts
now,
pretty
his batting average at 240 is not a reason I would go for him. So Aiden Miller's stolen bases are phenomenal this year. This is fantastic. I think he's going to be a really good ball player. His power is the major question moving forward. He's only 21, which helps him. I mean, I don't just sit here and like go through every
this is a good
prospect.
profile, right? Like this is actually, I think, the best profile.
And he's got, and I do value pedigree. I mean, he's had serious struggles throughout his minor league career. His ratios have actually typically not been good, or like they've gone through roller coasters. You know, like Double A last year.
His 5 is like weirdly outside of his.
I will actually take that back with his OBP has always been pretty steady. Ross has been the anti-Miller guy, and we got really good offers for him in this one league, and then now he's not the owner anymore, and I wish we did that because now I can never get Aiden Miller in that league, and that's annoying. But it was for basically nothing. We could have had Aiden Miller. So Aiden Miller is up there, but I mean, what are we gonna do? Go through like, I mean, if we were at an hour of recording. I don't think we have much more time, but we're going to find out. I suspect Joseph Sullivan will not be in the top 10. I do not think he'll be in the top 15, but I just don't know how many guys who are like, it's this mix of he's not in the DSL, bro. He's not, that's the flip side of this. As much as he's a 23-year-old, he's surviving at Double A.
But we're not
and, like,
talking
kind of
about
prospering.
DSL guys here. We're talking.
No, but we are, because those are people go nuts for them showing a flash of anything. It's like, oh,
no. We're not though. No name has been mentioned from the DSL in this conversation. Mate, Pena, high A, DeVries, high A,
Florentino. Right? I think these are like really.
But you are talking about players I am not talking about. That's my point to you. Is like, stop comparing it to the industry, right? Because if you're going to put him at 20, you're not comparing him.
Well, you're just kind of randomly. So you're throwing Braden Montgomery and Aiden Miller, and I think Braden Montgomery is 100% lower than Joe.
That's fine. Sullivan. That's fine. Yeah. But it's not like I just have 2 names, right?
Okay.
I just mentioned Ryan Sloan, Treyas Savage. We're talking about Michael Arroyo, who I'm out on, but like he's in the conversation. We have Theo Gillen to talk about. We have Carter Jensen. Yarlene Susana, who sure I could get behind Susana being behind Sullivan. I'm not going to rank it that way. Robbie Snelling, like he's not a top 20 prospect.
Well, he is, and so here's the deal. I've had my life.
It is unfair to all of these players to rank a guy that has had one good hot stretch at high A. Like.
Okay, so again, it's pretty clear at this point that I'm not just going off the hot stretch. There's like multiple factors I'm using here, but I will say that I'm having a flashback of looking through my Fantrax roster while arguing with you. We did this once before. This is a really cool deja vu moment. But I will say that everyone's going to have their misses. I think some of my hits, like I was putting Travis Sikora, Thomas White, Noah Cameron for that matter. I'm putting these guys way higher than, I mean, again, Travis Sikora last year, this offseason, as recently as that, over Roki Sasaki was considered an idiot move. You're just doing this to be controversial. He's just a kid. You know, he's just on this little hot stretch over this proven guy. It's like, hey man, like I'm not throwing this out there with absolutely nothing. I mean, heck, Carter Jensen, I was pretty big on before he turned into Carter Jensen. But point is, I don't like to jeopardize my reputation over nothing. I like to have something to stand on. And I am a little bit flabbergasted that you don't seem to necessarily want to embrace the upside that we're seeing with Joseph Sullivan. And maybe if I presented him to you as just like a really cool outside the, on the outskirts prospect, that would be one thing. But again, he meets in the middle on so many things where I think we could see him as soon as next year. So it's not a kid where it's like, we don't know. I think we could have a fun fantasy profile here.
You're not going to convince me. I respect what you're saying in regards to like, it's your list. You're going to have to rank them accordingly, but there are at least 20 or 30 names that I think deserve ranking above him. I think putting him in your top 100 is completely fair. I think it's great that you've identified a profile that you think has a lot of fantasy value. It's just never going to happen. And like, I'll stake my flag and say that like Joseph Sullivan will never be a third outfielder in a 12-man league. Like,
Okay.
That,
well,
and that's borderline. Like that's where I'm at with him, which is like I think there's absolutely a chance he is a Isaac Collins, like a
and you
player that
acknowledge
for a
but you
while.
acknowledge the upside is a upper echelon player in fantasy.
No, I mean, and neither is
You
Wyatt.
did. You did. You acknowledge the profile.
Okay, that is exact. He could be Wyatt Langford, a top 200 draft pick, like a guy that's going to hit you 20, maybe steal you 20 for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then end up bouncing around the league as a 4th or 5th outfielder.
Oh, so you think that's Wyatt Langford now? You're back on that?
I'm out on Wyatt Langford, and it infuriates me that people.
Well, we just missed we buried the lead. Wyatt
Yeah,
Langford's a bust. Gosh,
he is. I mean,
welcome
from first
to
overall
anyone who
fantasy,
stuck around for the
taking him in
past
the
hour.
first round. I mean, he went 1-7 overall in
Your
one of our
patience
leagues.
is lacking, young Padawan, young 33-year-old Matt. Such a baby, such a child.
But okay, but
one
let's
day.
steer this back on before we say goodbye. If we actually would say that Joseph Sullivan could potentially hit 240 with 15 home runs and 15 stolen bases, which is, just absolutely worth a first round pick in fantasy for Wyatt Langford. That's a pretty good player to have. Think about that, right? Again, strip the names away. If you could get the same production for a waiver wire pickup in a dynasty league that you're getting from Wyatt Langford, who was taken in the first round, 7th overall at startup, that's a darn good player. So I get what you're saying. Like that's the argument you're trying to make to me. And I get that, which is understandably to put him in the top 20. I just think there's more upside beyond that top 20 that deserves to be over Sullivan.
When was the last time you did your prospect ranks?
Probably last offseason, but I'll tell you, Sullivan is not going to be in my top 20.
Is this whole podcast trying to motivate me to get mine out again or what? And
I think you should get them out. I just encourage you. Say it with your chest. If you're going to put him in the top 20, stand by that. Because
I'm pretty sure I did.
You did today. You did today. It's just he's going to be a very controversial placement there. And
that's okay. Again, at one point I had Augustine at 6 overall. It's easy to say now that, well, no, that makes more sense. Of course it does now. Everyone thought I was an idiot. I was out there freaking drafting with Scott White and Frank, and they're all like, kind of, you could just tell they're like, all right, I don't know about that. And because I'd pick them in every freaking mock, and I got them everywhere, and no one really believed in Augustine Ramirez. And that's I'm firing us up on and firing us out here. And you called Wyatt Langford a 15-15 guy based on the first week of August. Yeah, he's got some uphill battle to do here to get past 15-15.
He's got an uphill battle to be a top
last season. The last 2 months of the season, he had 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases. So I guess you could say there's precedence.
Yeah, we'll see. 7th overall in a dynasty startup, though, that he's never going to return that value.
He's 23 years old. It's okay. I'm patient.
Yeah, he's 23 years old, and James.
You add on Jackson Holiday
and Jackson. I mean, I would take Jackson Holiday right now over Wyatt Langford, and it wouldn't even be close.
Jackson Holiday hasn't proven nearly as much as Wyatt Langford.
Pretty sure he has more home runs this year. Let's look that up real quick.
I feel like that's not true.
Jackson Holiday, 14 home runs. Wyatt Langford, 15.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Matt. Oh, it's a bad podcast for Matt. He's getting wrecked.
16. But Jackson is hitting 12 points higher in BA, which is good.
Listen, I love them both, so don't make me fight my two sons. But
put them in a ring and let's see who wins.
But that's another example. I'm just like, I don't know when it's going to happen, but they're going to be units, and it could be. I hope it's not when they're both 26, but technically that could be.
Wyatt is. They are going to be good players. Like I'm giving Wyatt a lot of grief here, but I just like. I hope
if all works out
Sullivan.
For Jackson and Wyatt, they could reach Joseph Sullivan one day.
Okay, send us out for the day.
Yeah, Huckleberry.
We'll see you guys next week.